Good evening, everyone. I'm Rose McNeil, Chair of the Joshua Johnson Council for 2024-2026. I welcome you to Joshua Johnson's JJC Talks. We're thrilled that you took the time out of your schedule to join us today as we hear about our artists in residence. They will be presenting their work with you this evening. For those of you who are new to JJC, I just want to give you a little bit of information about us. We are an affiliate group of the Baltimore Museum of Art, and we're named after the 18th century African American portrait painter, Joshua Johnson. And he was born into slavery, and he's the earliest documented professional portrait artist. He lived and worked in Maryland. And he taught himself to paint, and he specialized in upper middle class or upper class Baltimore clientele. He overcame his challenges to pave the way for future African Americans to pursue their careers in art. The mission of JJC is to forge meaningful connections between Baltimore's African American communities and the BMA by promoting and highlighting the achievements of African American artists. We invite you to join JJC if you're not already a member. And our annual dues are only $40 for individuals, $80 for dual, that's for two people, $15 for students. And our members are very passionate about the arts. We have artists, we have art lovers, museum goers, docents, educators, students, and we all get together to connect around art. We meet every second Thursday from September through June, and some of our meetings are virtual and some are housed at the BMA. So why not join us? We will be putting up information on how you can join, but also you can join online. You would just go to BMA and you would click on affiliate groups and go right to JJC, and you could join that way. But if you're at the museum, you could also go up to the desk and you could leave a check and you could join that way also. So let's get ready to hear from our artist. Merle.
Thanks, Rose. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first JJC Talk of our new season. Super exciting. My name is Meryl Hambleton. I'm the Director of Public Engagement at the Baltimore Museum of Art and also the liaison to the Joshua Johnson Council. And in that capacity, I get to support wonderful programs like the Joshua Johnson Council Artists-in-Residence. For those of you who haven't heard of this program, it is a collaboration between the BMA, JJC, and MICA. So grateful to our collaborators and colleagues at MICA who have helped make this program happen for the last 4 years. The artists you'll be hearing from this evening are part of our fourth cohort, as I mentioned, of artists living and working in Baltimore. The residency program is designed to support artists with studio space and a stipend over the course of 2 months. They are in residence at MICA's Lazarus building on North Avenue. And while they're there, they have the opportunity to use MICA's facilities. In addition to the studio, they're making facilities and workshops, and also have the opportunity to connect with participants in MICA's low residency program over the summer. So in addition to connecting with those artists who are working at MICA, also attending any lectures and events that might be happening there as well. And also part of the Artist in Residence program involves the artists sharing their work with all of us, with the public audience. It's such a privilege to get to hear directly from both of these wonderful artists that I have had the privilege of getting to know this summer. I know you will all be excited by the work that they share, and I'm really excited to hear a bit more from them about how this opportunity informed their practice. So I will pass it shortly to our first artist, Qrcky, and I'll share a little bit of a biography of his career, but I'll let him do most of the talking in a moment. So Rodney Jermaine Elliot, who goes by Qrcky, began his artistic practice in Southern Virginia, where he was early on captivated by the work of artists like Chuck Jones, Norman Rockwell, and Bob Ross. Qrcky spent endless hours emulating their techniques and immersing himself in cartoons. Later, to fully embrace his own artistic vision, Qrcky chose solitude, distancing himself from friends and family in a move of deliberate seclusion, which provided the focus and freedom to produce some of his most impactful works. Through this deep introspective process, Qrcky discovered a unique artistic voice and a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. I'll let you all hear more about this exciting work from Qrcky himself. So we will pass it off to him, and then I'll introduce Murjoni, and we'll hear a little bit more about her practice.
Wow, that was beautiful. Hello, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank the JCC and the BMAs for just believing in my work and giving me the opportunity to tell my story. So thank you guys very much. The residency allowed me to slow down, to reflect, to build confidence in my artistic voice. And for that, I'm profoundly thankful. I have several works I worked on. I think I finished 5 pieces during the residency. I'm only going to share 2 that I'm going to talk about, but you'll get to see all 5 pieces. My work often explores depth and dimension in paintings. I wasn't too much into color in the beginning, but with this new series I've been working on with door knockers and diable, which I'm sharing right now. As you can see on the screen right now, you see door knockers. The first week of the residency, I didn't get a chance to go because my sister passed. And needless to say, she was on my mind pretty much the entire time. So I did a painting of her. This is the first thing I did when I stepped into the studio. I wanted to capture her vibrant life, how beautiful she was, how colorful she was. Unlike me, she was the exact opposite of me. She was unapologetic and bold and just a beautiful, loud person, hence the bright colors. The reason it's called door knockers, she used to wear these large earrings in the 80s, and she wore it like an armor. It was bold, it was loud, it was her. And it meant so much to paint through the pain of losing her, but it was more or less a continuation of a conversation with her the more and more I painted it. And it got easier and it got lighter the more and more I painted it. So this was the first piece I finished. Murjoni, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. This one is called Dabble, and it's my reflection to my ancestors in Grenada and celebrating Jab Jab, where they would paint their skin black, not to mimic the devil, but to show the oppressors of that time that it was more or less to paint their bodies in a way to mock the oppressors. So they would paint like with dark black skin with oils and tar, and you would wear horns. But the one I did, I wanted to make it a little more stylish with the hat, and you can see the stripes I added in there where the curves follow the body lines and stuff like that. I just really, really love this piece. The figure is black, it's reflective, it's shiny, the mirror and the hat. I really love this piece, and more or less my color tones and things I would like to make. While the painting of my sister was more about healing, The second painting was more or less about strength, both reclaiming them in their own way of love, identity, and dignity, reminding me that that my art is decorative, but it's also can be more or less a declaration. It can be more than just something pretty. It can have meaning, have depth to it. It could have so much more than just, I like the way the colors look. It can say much more than that. Could you please, all right, so these are the first two I was talking about, but I would like everyone to see the other slides. Could you go to the slide 3? And this way you'll have to worry about the animation. I want everybody to get a feel for what it is. I'm pretty much known for this stripe pattern where I take 3D models that I build in 3D space. And I don't know if people can see me, but if you can, I can control the lighting, the composition, everything in the 3D scene and build my own reference images. So by the time I get to this point, I've thought about so many camera angles and lighting, just like some of French artists used to make their models out of clay. I do it in the 3D realm, and that's how I get the look and feel for things I produce. Could you please go to the next slide called Mark West? This is also another painting I've done while I was there, based off a friend of mine's named Mark West. I love the colors, and I'm pretty much a black and white type artist. This is definitely out of my comfort zone. One thing I really like about the JJC and BMAs and MICA, I was able to slow down. Keep in mind, my emotion was running high the entire time, but as soon as I get into that studio, I didn't have to worry about bills. I didn't worry about cooking dinner. I could just focus, and all the stuff just start pouring out of me in that 2-month period. Could you go to slide 5, please? All right. This is another painting I made called Crystal. It's based off a friend of mine's named L'Oreal. She's a good friend of mine. And one day I saw her just being under pressure. And I can tell whatever she was going through at another time, she couldn't speak upon it. And she was just bottled up, and she was trying to express himself, but it wasn't a time and a place to do so. And this is what came about that meeting with her. Last slide, please. Okay. Not only did I do 4 paintings, I was able to do a sculpture. And at this point, the JJC and the BMAs didn't get a chance to see this one, because it was at the last minute. I think I finished it 2 days after the residency ended. But it's a sculpture. Since I do 3D modeling and things of that nature, I was able to build a sculpture of every woman that had a positive impact on my life that I interact with. So it's a 6-foot sculptor. It's beautiful, white. I really enjoyed creating this piece. It was very just emotionally draining, but all in all, that was pretty much it. I would like to ask anyone if they have any questions at this point about my work and my practices and my thought process. I'll be more than happy to answer anything you have involved. Oh, you can come up with.
Thank you so much, Qrcky. That was awesome. Really exciting to see this sculpture, which studio. It's incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
I haven't gotten any questions immediately in the chat right now, but we will come back to both you and Murjoni at the end.
Okay.
So if anybody does have questions that they want to share, you can go ahead and add them to the chat, and I'll hold on to them for the end of the conversation. So Qrcky, thank you so much. I'm going to take you off stage and bring Murjoni up in just a moment. So our second artist in residence from this season is Murjoni Merriweather. Murjoni is a sculptor from Temple Hills, Maryland. She grew up loving art and learning how to draw from trial and error. And after dabbling in photography, drawing, painting, and graphic design, she tried out ceramics by the time she was in 8th grade and felt immediately connected to that medium. She started making work that reflected the Black experience, and in 2018, Murjoni graduated from MICA with her BFA in ceramics and a concentration in film and video. I will let Murjoni share more about her career and her work in ceramics, and also about her experience at the residency.
Awesome. Thank you, Meryl. I really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm really excited to be here and show you guys about my work and the things that I've worked on and experimented with. My name is Murjoni Merriweather, by the way. And I am going to actually start with kind of the basics and background of my work to get you guys kind of a feel of where I kind of started before I came to the residency, and then where I went while I was at the residency. So the past year, I have actually been working on creating my work larger. I love my work being able to take up space. Even the names take up space. I've always had a habit of creating the names of my work all capitalized and spaces in between each letter to take up even more space. Just because I feel like Black people, we should take up more space and we should be allowed to. Because I feel like a lot of other people do as well. So these are 3 sculptures that I've made. The one on the left is Big Baby 1, and the one on the right is Big Baby 2. I haven't quite had names for them yet, but I do love them, and they were a challenge. And that's where I'm going to talk more about challenges later, but I love a challenge. Another project that I did that was super important to me and that was close to my heart and that has been influencing me for the past year is this installation I did with Cultural DC at the Anacostia Community Museum. I had an installation called Seed. And seed is about patience. It's about, when we grow things from seeds, sometimes we don't really see the growth instantly, but there's constantly roots being placed, essentially. Like roots are constantly growing. Seed is also about me taking jumps with setting. I really wanted to play with thinking outside of white walls and pedestals. I find that when people show my sculptures, they tend to, the default is to put it on a white pedestal. And I'm like, what if I made a setting that contributed to the story that I'm trying to portray in the piece? So Love Culture DC, they allowed me to fill the floors with dirt. And I had these pieces sitting on dirt mound pedestals, essentially, making them grow from the ground. And they allowed me to paint the walls and do whatever I wanted. So people had to actually walk into the space, ground themselves, and they were able to touch the sculptures as well. But they're forced to be grounded in order to interact with the work. And I really loved being able to have people interact with something and have people feel inspired by something. There was also a point where people were able to dig in the back. And in the back, I had this mound of dirt. And there were little, I call them Murjoni seeds. I'm probably going to change the name, but they call them Murjoni seeds. And they had words of affirmation on them. So they were like literal metaphorical seeds that you would plant for yourself. So this one says, be present. I had one that said, breathe. They say all different kinds of things. So a lot of people got messages for themselves that I feel like they needed. And it was just a nice little hands-on thing for people to do. So I really wanted to kind of keep going along those lines of making people feel something, having them interact with something in some way. So coming to the JJC residency with MICA and the BMA, super exciting. I thought about different themes that I wanted to play with. So the main 3 things that I wanted to do was take a jump, complete something, and play with something. So those were my main themes that I was focusing on. So I allowed myself to have 3 projects. I tend to work on multiple things at once, and I kind of need to chill. I need to focus on one at a time. But I get so excited, and when you love the work, you just kind of want to do it. You want to do everything. Texture, surface, and space has been things that are so important to me in my practice in general. And I wanted to play around a little more with that, and we'll talk more about that. Interaction, when I was talking about I want people to actually feel something. I want people to interact with the piece in some way, whether it be emotionally or physically. I wanted that relationship to happen. Intentionality, plan, and write. That's more for me. I wanted to actually start sketching things, start writing things out. I journal very often, and that's a huge part of my practice, but my journaling is more so of me writing down how I feel and then being like, this is a good artist statement. But I love journaling, but I wanted to think more critically about my work. And then I found this new clay that one of my ceramic colleagues told me about. And I was like, I'm going to play in a different clay this time. I love to experiment. That's like a big part of my practice. So the jump that I took was this large scale sculpture. So remember, I told you guys I really wanted to work with larger scale works. I really want to get into public art. I really want works that are life size, bigger than life. So I made this idea for this 7-foot sculpture. And that sounds ambitious, but I love taking jumps. This was my jump project. So I actually started sketching. This was like 2 of like 5 or 6 sketches. I made a small prototype, which is on the right, a little tiny one. I'm currently making a medium-sized prototype so I can like actually kind of figure out the weight and levels and all that. So this is a project I was really, really excited about. And I kind of like the first 2 weeks of me being at the residency, I instantly started with the head, right? So I had this sculpture that people had to look up to and have to look in the eyes of. And although the sculpture may seem scary, right? If we decide to face our fears, it would feel more like a sculpture of comfort and a sculpture of protection. And I would love to have that feeling, but I feel like with the sculpture that large, people are going to feel whatever they feel. And my goal is to just have people feel something. Whatever that thing is, that's okay. I feel like if I make you feel something, then I've accomplished. So this was going to be the top part of the head. This is also one of my first times creating a neck that is not straight up. I wanted to challenge myself in doing something that's not what I usually do. Because why not, right? This is what we're here for. So I decided to build a neck that curved. And I love her. I fired her. She's great. I love her gaze. I'm really excited to finish this piece. Obviously, this piece is not finished just yet. But the second portion of the piece that I made was the bottom half of that piece. And I decided to sculpt it out of clay and then have the middle be more of like foam and fiberglass and things like that. However, when I built the bottom and fired it, it exploded. It's okay. It's fine. I did choose a practice that sometimes we do have failures, but the failure is a lesson because now I know. I was too excited and I rushed it. I rushed the firing and I tried to do a once fire instead of just doing a really, really slow fire. And that's kind of what I get. But, we live and we learn, and that's okay. This sculpture, this was like I typically build sculptures solid. And I actually built this sculpture, the base of this sculpture, hollow, which I was super, super proud of myself for. It took a lot of work. And honestly, I can do it again. And I'm very confident in that. So I don't feel discouraged that my piece exploded. It's a part of the practice, right? We learn to love, we learn to appreciate, but we also have to learn to not be too attached to things because sometimes they might just explode just because. So when that happened, I was like, okay, let me take a pause. Let me actually focus on other pieces. So I started sculpting like crazy. Why not, right? I decided to start another series. This was my completed project. I started to make a series of 3. I wanted to make a set of sculptures that were interacting with each other emotionally. So these 3, they all go together. The picture on the right, the middle one is actually supposed to be on the left side. But I wanted to play around with surfacing. So years ago, I played around with flocking. And it was super fun. It was super cool. And I was like, I kind of want to get back into that. I kind of want to play around with the idea of the hardness of the ceramics and the naturalness of ceramics and these super soft fibers that people may want to touch, right? So I made these sculptures to experiment with that, but also playing with the undercolors of them. So each of these sculptures have a different undercolor. And this series is called For Those Who Look Twice. And I named it this because I feel like it's a parallel. I feel like my work parallels with whatever I'm feeling in my life or whatever I'm going through. And I find that people kind of see you and they see you as this person, but people don't look deeper, which is okay, right? But sometimes it's okay to take a second and take time to get to know someone for a little longer. So with these sculptures, you see them in person, they look all black. The lighting here shows the undercolor a little bit, but they look all black. And if you do a single take, you'll be like, oh, black sculptures, cool. But if you decide to look at it for 5 seconds longer, you'll see that there's a texture, you'll see that there's a color, you'll see that there's lashes, there's an expression there. And I want people to sit with the work just a little longer. I really enjoyed this because this was me revisiting an idea that I had, but refining it, and I'm still refining it. But this is my completed. These pieces are actually currently going to London and showing with Minnie Solomon at 154 Fair, which I am super excited about, along with another sculpture that I finished. But I'm really excited that I'm able to show these experiments, essentially. Also at the residency, my play was trying out a new clay body. So the clay body that I typically use is a 266G, right? Which is a dark brown clay. That clay, if we look at the picture on the left, it's the clay on the right in the left picture, if you're following. The lighter brown clay. That's typically the clay that I use. Love that clay. Always used it. Then one of my sculpture colleagues was like, you should try this clay. I've been using it. I think you like it. It's super groggy. And I was like, I love grog. Let's see what it's about. So I ordered a box, and that's the color on the left side, the darker color. I actually, at my time at the JJC residency, I actually started wheel throwing again. And people who know me know that wheel throwing, I did not want to wheel throw at all anymore. I swore off wheel throwing since college. I was like, yeah, I took my little class for my little credits and I'm done, right? I don't know what it was. I think it was just the freedom of being able to explore, do what I want. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just give the wheel another try. And I actually, y'all, I love the wheel. It's like, I call the wheel my hobby within my artistry. Wheel throwing is a hobby for me. It's just fun. And when I first got on the wheel, I actually wheel through with this groggy clay, which is not a good idea because grog is essentially it's rough. It makes the clay more rough than what it typically would be, right? And throwing with groggy clay, my hands were scraped up. Let's just say I learned my lesson, right? Don't throw with groggy clay. But this is why we live and we learn, right? So I ended up making, on the right side, using the dark horse to throw with, which I don't recommend. But look at how pretty they turned out. That dark, dark color. It's my goal to get to a black clay, like a naturally black clay, but we're working on it. But yeah, I have fun. I still wheel throw to this day. I make my little minis. I make my little bigger pots, and I'm getting better at it. So shout out to JJC for that, for putting me back onto wheel throwing. But yes, that's what I've done at the residency. I am super grateful for you guys. I've had a wonderful time. And this is me with some of my minis that I've made out of 266, not dark horse. But thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much, Murjoni. That was so awesome. Really exciting to get to see all the images of your work.
Yeah.
So we're going to move into Q&A. We've got some time for that. For folks who are watching the live stream, you should be able to add your questions in the chat, and I will share them with the artists. So I'll bring Qrcky back on stage. Welcome back, Qrcky. So I'll start with a question of mine while we let people filter in their questions. But I was struck listening to both of you talk about your work and knowing the work that you both applied with, that, yeah, you both made pretty significant leaps in scale. I think 6 foot and 7 foot pieces. And right, who knows where we'll stop. So yeah, I'd love to hear a bit more about what was driving that move. Was that a response to having more space? Was it a response to just taking the next step from where you've been working? And what kind of impact do you hope that has on the viewer?
You want to go first, Qrcky?
Well, the residency allowed me freedom. The stipend helped out a lot. So I don't want to create something knowing I might mess it up. The stipend gave me that, like, hey, I can try this now. I can actually try this now. I can experiment now. So it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have done it. Hands down, I wouldn't have done it. I dreamt about it. It was in my mind. But the money I do make has to go to bills and certain things and putting kids through college. So I didn't have the ability the way I wanted to just play. This whole time was playtime, and it was productive as hell. Excuse my language, but yeah, I needed the JJC and the BMAs to make this happen. And I didn't realize how much I was tethered through the financial struggles I might go through as well. But that helped out a lot. And having a place to go do it made a world of difference. I'm not looking at dishes. I much rather be there. So, yeah.
I would say the same for me. I have a home studio that gets filled and dirty very, very quickly. But having a new place to a clean slate is so inspiring. Whenever I see an empty room, I get so inspired. I'm like, oh, I'm going to fill it with this, and I'll fill it with that. And oh my gosh, I'm going to make this. And my mind just starts like, when I tell you guys, I literally had like 3 more projects I wanted to do. And I was like, Murjoni, chill. It's only 2 months. Relax. You know what I mean? But I think just having the space to just do what I need to do, having more room, because the studio that I had is bigger than my studio. So having more room has been very beneficial. I feel like artists understand when you see a clean studio, a clear studio, you're going to be like, I have to fill it. I can't wait to fill it.
Awesome. Thank you both. I have a question from Antoinette for Qrcky. Your work spans painting, sculpture, 3D modeling, and more. How do you decide which medium or form to use when starting a new piece?
I treat my art like she's my relationship. So when I come home, I say, baby, what you want to do? She tells me, like, we're going to sculpt, we're going to work on the website, we're going to do this, that. I have no idea until I say, honey, what you want to do. And we Netflix and chill, and it's great work. So I really don't know until I come in and say, honey, what you want to do? And she tells me.
I like that.
Another question from Antoinette for Murjoni. You work heavily in clay and sculptural forms. What is it about clay that speaks to you? What can it do that other mediums can't?
Well, first of all, hi, Antoinette. I don't know. I think it's one of those things that is when you feel connected to something, you feel connected to it. I've been feeling connected to clay for so long, and I love natural things. Like, I'm a side hobby that I enjoy is I love herbalism. That's something that people don't really know about me. I love herbalism. I have literally an apothecary right here of like herbs that I use. But I love natural holistic things. And clay just feels like I'm creating and immortalizing people that with the material that comes from the earth. You know, it's not like artificial in any way. It's natural. So I really enjoy that. Clay is, and don't get me wrong, I've worked in resin, I've drawn, I've painted, I've done photography, and those are all great mediums. Also, film. I love film. But it's something about clay that I always have to go back to. There's actually a piece, real quick, sorry y'all, I'm a yapper. There's actually a piece that I made. I was working in resin for like a half a year, like 6 months or something. And I was like, oh man, I feel really like empty. Not empty, but it's like something's missing. And I was like, I just need to make a clay sculpture for myself. So the first clay sculpture that I made was this guy with twists. He has like diamond grills, just because I felt like it. And his name is Fall Back in Love with It Again. That's the name, because that's how I felt when I started working back in clay once more. It's like like Qrcky said, it's like a relationship. Like it's like a toxic relationship, because it's like I'm gonna try to leave you and try something else, but thank you for that question.
Yeah,
while we're talking about material, Qrcky, I wanted to ask about the sculpture that you showed at the end. Can you talk a little bit more about the material of that piece and what your process was creating it?
Oh, I've been doing 3D animation and computer graphics like 20 years. Ever since I saw Jurassic Park, I was hooked when I was a kid, dating how old I am. But I've been making 3D models of people for years. And when I was there, I wanted to do something I was not comfortable doing. So I wanted to 3D print something larger than normally I would do. So I figured out a way with time to slice it into separate pieces. So if I had this top part, I could separate this, then attach this and keep going. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm getting really nice in here. So yeah, so that was my process. I've been doing it for so long, I don't think of it as it's just another tool. I just choose to use this tool. There is a guy in the chat named Kevin Cross. I'm sending a link in there. He asked, I saw the thing. I don't know if it will let me do it. Failure to post. Okay. There is a bunch of free sources out there. I see he asked about 3D modeling in Maya, and there's a bunch of free sources. I try to paste into the comments. It wouldn't let me do it. If you follow me on Instagram, send me a message. Anything you see me use, I'm willing to share with somebody. I hate gatekeepers. I can't stand it. So I much rather, I maybe got another 20 years on this earth. I much rather share that information and feed somebody else. And so if you ever see me do something, I don't care if it's 3D modeling, scanning, painting on it, or a gallery, I might be, just reach out. I'll help you get to that point, because nobody helped me. But now I'm willing to help other people. You shouldn't have to fall in the same pitfalls I fell into. So yeah.
I love that.
The 3D stuff, the material is made out of a product called PLA and ASA. PLA is the same thing that you might get Legos out of. ASA is a little more durable. It withstands weather and heat. So yeah. Sorry.
So could it live outside?
Yes. Matter of fact, I 3D printed sculpture that live outside, and I had these brackets I wanted to attach to my fence, and I printed it out ASA, and it withstands. Matter of fact, you can print car parts with it.
Oh wow!
It's just people don't know. I spent, I guess, the last 3 to 4 years researching materials and what works best, what doesn't. Matter of fact, in the sculpture, the pedestal I built, it wasn't a pedestal I bought. I went to Home Depot and got the concrete footers for a house. The cardboard, it's sturdy. It holds concrete. And I just wrapped it in leather, and then I have a pedestal.
Yeah. I did the same thing for some of my pedestals, actually. And they're sandbagged and concreted at the bottom.
Yes.
Wood top. Being an artist.
I like how you're both kind of subverting the pedestal as an object or a part of the artwork. That's cool. Another nice question from Antoinette for both of you. There's often unseen labor behind an artwork, rejected drafts, failed experiments, inner dialogue. What part of your process do you feel rarely gets attention but is essential?
I feel like the whole process. I think process is so important to know and understand as somebody who makes art, enjoys art, looks at art. I feel like process is, I always talk to people about process, especially in my work, because I'm kind of like, well, how do we get here? How do we get to the end? Right? I feel like the process is a gift. I feel like people can only appreciate the end result because they only see the end result. But I feel like we can appreciate the end result more if we've asked about the process or understood it. So my process, for instance, is not like I'm like making a sculpture in a day and then it's like, here it is. Like, this is like a whole, like, I have to sculpt it. I have to hollow it. I have to dry it. I have to make sure everything is together, or it could explode. It could crack. It could do all these things. And a lot of that comes with experimentation. So a lot of artist practice is experimentation as well. When I was learning resin, I messed up. I have a bin like this big that is of my mess ups. And I'm okay with it. I love it because it's a part of that. I don't see them as failures. I see them as lessons and like archiving material in a sense. Like, this is how I started. This is where I am. But it also makes me appreciate the end result a lot more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess for me is the time, especially if I'm doing a painting, the time of building the reference images to build from. No one sees the hours of sketching, working on the composition, working on the lighting, just to make one painting. So when they hear my prices, you're not paying just for the painting. You're paying for all the pain and the struggle to get to that point of this painting or this sculpture. Nobody knows. Like, I feel like, especially the things I do, there's not too many people I can talk about. How do you get your 3D model to look X, Y, Z? It's hardly anyone I can communicate with. So I think I'm a trailblazer sometimes, but I think most people pay attention to just the end result, as you were saying, Murjoni, and nobody cares about the blood, sweat, and tears. Nobody cares about how many family members you lost in that process of making this painting. So yeah, it's disheartening at times, but when you find somebody who truly appreciates it, they're golden.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
Yeah. I was actually explaining to somebody what a luster firing was. And I was telling them, I was like, oh, the grills, they're luster, yada, yada, this is full luster. And they were like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, okay, so in ceramics, you go through a bisque firing, and then you have to glaze it, and then put in the glaze firing. And then after it comes out the glaze, you got to do the lustering, which is a third firing, which is an extra firing, right? And then I have like a chrome piece that I did 2 luster firings. So that piece went through 4 firings. That's a lot of firings. Yes. And a firing is not like you put it in the microwave. A firing takes a full day to fire and then another full day to cook. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like it's not we don't make microwave art,
That's a t-shirt. That is a t-shirt.
Okay. It takes a lot of time.
I have a question from Yvonne for Qrcky. Your sculpture reminds me of a totem pole. Are the faces biographic? I think I'm reading that right. Biographic.
I don't think I understand the question, but each person in that piece, like my sisters, both of my sisters in there, a few of my cousins, anybody that thought of these people as just one thing. The whole idea of monolith is stands, is human made. This is what it is. And there's so much more. They don't fit into that conformity. So their bodies are stretching out, their heads are pulling out. And I like that look. The women in my life have never been a monolith. Ever. They always were groundbreaking. They always were different. And just, they made me who I am. They literally made me who I am, and I'm just happy to be able to produce something like that to honor them. And yeah, pretty much it.
A question from Brenda, going back to process. She asks, "What is flocking?"
Yeah, I just saw that pop up.
Of course, flocking is basically little tiny fibers. So have you know about the inside of jewelry boxes? They kind of have that suede feeling. that is essentially what flocking ends up feeling like once you flock it. So flocking is an action and flocking is a thing as well. So you're flocking the flock. That sounds so crazy to explain.
Lord does it.
No, for real. So flocking is little fibers. They come in different colors, mainly black, but they come in all different colors like red, brown, green, blah, blah, blah. And then you have a flocker, which is a like a cardboard tube in a sense that has holes at the bottom. You put flocking into the flocker and then you go like this on whatever piece you need. And it kind of like fires out flocking fibers on this piece. Super cool. Love flocking. So I hope that answers your question. Flocking is basically little fibers. They turn kind of sweet. And it's soft.
Honey. I have a question for Qrcky from Colby. You mentioned having 20 or so more years left on the planet. How does that notion drive you?
Oh, if it wasn't for going to work or trying to have a relationship, I would paint my life away. I would just create. I waited too long in life to start painting. So when I see a young person who said, I don't paint anymore, I don't create anymore, I stress to do it. It's therapy, it's comforting, it's everything. So now that I realize, it's like art was like the girl next door I never paid attention to. Now all of a sudden I see her for who she is and I don't want to be away from her. I don't. If it wasn't for you guys talking to me right now, I'll be doing something right now. It's the one of the greatest relationships you will ever have. So why would you want to spend time with her? I don't. I'd much rather be doing that. Like I get invited to things all the time to come out to an event or something like that. I'd much rather be in the house creating. And my ideal scenario is when I do pass, I'll have enough paintings that my two kids can take my paintings and say, hey, we need to get something repaired in the house, and they can sell one of dad's paintings. And it's forever generational wealth that they can look at and say, my dad did this. And I can see what he was thinking and what he was feeling in that moment. So I'd much rather spend my life doing that. And maybe fishing. So
Thank you, Qrcky. That's a beautiful answer. Zooming out a little bit, Antoinette asks to both of you, do you see your art as a form of activism, archive, or testimonial? How do you balance your aesthetic goals with social or cultural aims?
Antoinette with the questions. Okay, so I if you don't mind me jumping in, Qrcky.
Oh, baby, no problem. Go ahead.
I think before I saw my work as activism, actually, yeah, I think my work is activism. Before it was more so of me wanting to normalize Black culture and being like, love us, see us, we're people too. Now, I think as I get closer to my 30s, I'm like, I kind of want to make work that makes me happy. I want to make work that puts me first, right? That brings me peace, that makes me feel like I'm safe and seen. Instead of directing it to outward people trying to see me, I'm like, okay, I need to see myself. I see that as a form of activism. I think that taking care of yourself, especially personally as a Black woman, and I think that Black women, we look out for a lot of other people, and sometimes we are not looked out for. I think taking care of myself is a form of activism in its own. So now my work is about me and whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm going through, and what I feel like that kind of looks like. Maybe people can relate to it too.
Yep. Well, I'm in the same boat as you. Like every time I see a police killing or this current administration, it gets me upset. So if I don't have anything on my mind, on my heart right now, that's on my heart, I would paint it. It took me 1 year after George Floyd was killed to paint a picture of him. And it drained me because it bothered me to no end. It just did. I couldn't get it off my mind. And finally, when I finished it, I think his brother contacted me saying he loved the painting and would love to see it one day. And it didn't fix what I was feeling, but I felt a little better. Sometimes I just got to paint it out, and whatever part of my head pissing me off at that moment, that's what I'm gonna paint about. Mm-hmm. And a lot of time it's hidden into the painting. Most people won't even notice it. I think I said this earlier. Decoration becomes a declaration. Mm. So I try to put a declaration in each one of my paintings. It's so nobody knows it unless you ask me specifically what this means. Yeah. And some people do figure it out, and I'm thankful for when they do.
Yeah. You know, I actually, there's this artist who I love, Louise Bourgeois. I don't know if anybody knows her, but she's a sculptor. Have you heard of Louise Bourgeois? She's an amazing sculptor. But I was listening to her documentary, and she was making this piece, and she was just like, you know, those who get it, and if you don't, you don't. And I was like, you know what? I like you. I like her. She's like, if you get it, you get it. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. And that's okay. And I'm like, you know what? That is okay. You don't need to fight to always, you know, sometimes we got to be like, this is for me. And if you understand and you feel what I'm feeling, you already know. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Thinking about the person encountering your work, you both are making figurative work at a more or less human scale. And I'm wondering, how do you think about the encounter that people are having physically with your work? And Murjoni, I'm thinking specifically of that shift you talked about with the neck and the face bending down. It kind of reminded me of like sunflowers or something. And I'm just wondering about that change for you and how that might shift the viewer's experience.
Yeah. The moment that shifted for me, I had already been thinking about kind of shifting my work in a way that's more of a reflection of my own personal journal, but a visual personal journal. But I actually did a residency at MICA last year. And at MICA, they have an amazing museum. And they actually were showing James Turrell exhibition downstairs. And you had to, you know, RSVP to like actually be in the thing and all that. And in the beginning, I was like, James Turrell, like, he's just a rich white man and people just like, he just playing with lights, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see what they're talking about. So I go downstairs. Sorry, this is like a side story, but it relates. I go downstairs and I'm like, oh, I do want to go into that installation. And they were like, oh, well, nobody signed up. You can just go in by yourself. Like, we got you. And I was like, okay, cool. I had to put on my little footies and stuff. I walk into the room. I mean, there's nothing in the room. Absolutely nothing. It's a white room. And there's lights kind of shifting from like red to purple to green to blue. And I was standing there and I felt my body have fear and I felt anxiety. And I was just like, okay, why am I feeling this? This is an empty room, right? But colors started to shift. And I started to feel like my emotions started shifting, not necessarily with the colors, but it made me feel something. It made me feel anxious. It made me feel scared. It made me feel at peace. It made me feel a bunch of emotions at once. And when I left it, I was like, oh, I understand why people like James Turrell now. He's making people feel an emotion in their bodies without them even really pre-knowing it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, that's what I want to do with my work. I want people to feel something, whether it be anger, whether it be happy. Like, that's up to you. That's for you to decipher. But I want you to feel something. You know, I find that makes artwork sometimes successful is when people start to feel an emotion behind it. Even if you don't like it, I still made you feel. You know what I mean? So I'm that whole installation, I saw a couple of his installations during that time, and that changed my perspective on how I view art in general, and how I view installation. So I was happy to do the installation with Cultural DC, and I wanted to make people feel in that. And then now I'm making my works larger and challenging people's own feelings in a sense. Does that answer your question? I just started yapping. Does that answer your question?
That's great. Yeah, thanks. I love what you shared, that and it's just interesting also to hear from you about how, as an artist, experiencing the work of other artists shifts your practice and your perspective on what you want to do. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Qrcky, anything you anything you want to add on the idea of
I think she covered it quite well. You have the gift of gab, my friend, and I wish I had an inkling of it.
Oh, thanks.
I know you both spoke a little bit about what's coming next in your work. Anything you want to share about whether it's a new project that you are working on, or a show, or some other thing that's ahead that you want people to know about and follow?
I have several shows coming up pretty soon. If you follow me on Instagram, Qrcky, most likely will post updated versions of everything. I think somebody wanted to see in the comments where that sculpture will be placed at. There are two of them. They're both going to DC really soon, and they will be on display there until January. But I'll send more information on my Instagram. Maybe just follow me. Yes.
Ditto. You can just type my name on Instagram. There's not many Murjonis in the world, but it's RJONI is my Instagram. Shows that are happening, the 154 Fair in London with Mindy Solomon. So excited for that. Super excited. The flocking pieces are showing there. And then the sculpture I did of my friend Taj Pasquet is also showing there. That I'm really excited about. Working on making that 7-foot sculpture, working on making like 15-inch versions of them instead of 7-foot sculptures of them. Super excited for that. Playing around with dirt, playing around with like postures and multiples, and I'm playing a lot. Let's just say that. And I'm still wheel throwing, so for fun.
Awesome. And also, I know we've been in early conversation about having both of you do some kind of workshop, both at the main branch of the museum and at Lexington Market. So I hope everyone will stay tuned and come to both of those. Why don't we wrap it up with one last question? This is from Yvonne. Yvonne says, I'm moved by both of your artistry. I have many questions. Murjoni, are your elongated necks just stretching and taking up more space? Asking in general about the elongated necks.
Mm-hmm. I'll answer real quick. Like my elongated necks are supposed to be standing tall and standing proud in who you are, whatever that is, how you decide to present yourself, and standing on business when it comes to that. The elongation, I was inspired by Alberto Giacometti, loved his work. He does a lot of elongated figures. There's actually some of the BMA as well. But I've learned about him since I was in middle school, and his elongations inspired me in the sculptures, in his sketches, in his paintings. So he's cool. And yeah, they're supposed to represent standing tall. And now they're kind of turning more into plants where they're growing tall. So I'm making these grow bases. I used to make these classical bases where I cut off the shoulders. And now my shoulders are slanted to the ground. So whatever platform they're on, it looks like they're growing from that platform. So I call them grow bottoms. I just be making stuff up. I don't know. I make up a lot of phrases in my own artistry. So grow bottoms is what I'm working.
And our wonderful JJC member and wonderful interviewer, Antoinette, has one great last question that I'll leave both of you and our audience with, which is, if someone only experienced one piece of your work 50 years from now, what would it be? And what would you hope they would take away?
That's so difficult. That's so difficult.
I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah.
The famous painting by anybody who's famous, like a Picasso or something like that, they never thought that would be the one. There was always something else. I know what I like, but that doesn't mean everybody else would like it. I'm quite sure if I paint a picture of Black Jesus, my mom would like it, but that would mean I would like it. If I had to pick one,
it's a hard question.
Yeah, because I think every year I surpass what I did last year. So I don't want to say this one right now because I know for a fact I'm thinking of ideas right now that are going to surpass that. So most likely, whatever it is, I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I second that as well. Another reason why I love ceramics is that ceramics doesn't disintegrate. It's always going to live. Even if it breaks, it's still living. So whatever I make is still going to be here. Whatever the universe decides and the people in the future decide, it's still going to be here. Whether it has a nose or not, I have no idea.
Thank you both so much for your effort this summer, the work that you made, for your wonderful presentations and your thoughtful conversation this evening. I'm so glad to know you both and can't wait to continue the conversation and collaboration going forward. So thank you all to our audience who joined for the talk. So glad to have you. You can find upcoming talks on the BMA event page, and we hope you'll join us in the spring for upcoming JJC Talks and more museum events in general. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, guys.